This is Admiral Petrarch, commanding officer of the GTD Aquitaine. For those squadrons joining us here in Vega, welcome aboard.
Iota Transports, this is Alpha Wing of the 53rd Hammerhead's GTD Aquitaine. We have orders to protect your convoy. What's your status? Over.
To intercept us as failed pilots, you would be well advised to question the wisdom of your leaders. Helm, engage subspace drive.
Damn it! Command let Bosch escape! What are you talking about? They pulled the blockade. They gave us the wrong coordinates. There's no other explanation. Why? Why would they let him go? You tell me, pilot. I'm informed on a need-to-know basis. Stand down, we're on your side here. Why did we attack the Iceni? Why did we destroy that cargo? I can live with being a pawn if the game makes sense. Alpha 2, we're in. I've got a visual on the subspace portal. fighting the NTF, if you ask me. I never signed on for hunting Shevens. Don't kid yourself. We're the ones being hunted, pilot. Bandits incoming!
The following is classified level row. Unauthorized access is punishable under the GTVA Security Act, Deneb Convention, Section 2135. We vanquished the Shevens in the Great War, but the hard questions remain. How would we confront the threat of future invasion? The Shevens might return at any time, any place, without warning. How will we fight the next threat to the very existence of our species?
I have 10,000 officers and crew willing to die for Neoterra. The tyranny of your regime is finished. Admiral Koth out. Colossus now, Command. We need 30 seconds to get auxiliaries online.
We don't have that kind of window, Colossus.
The Iceni has reached the Knossos. It's jumping into the nebula.
Why does the ancient portal lead us here? Have the Shivans been waiting for us for thousands of years? This odyssey, this exodus. Do we journey toward the promised land or into the Valley of the Kings? 3 decades ago, I envisioned a new future for our species. And now that we are on the brink of realizing my dream, I feel only solitude and regret.
transmission is coming from the Rafam. Confirmed. We are receiving a transmission from the Shivan warship.
The Shivan juggernaut, Sathanas, is now en route to the jump node leading to Terran Vasudin space. Command ordered all units to rally in Gamma Draconis in 3 hours' time. Now we have accounted for most of our fleet. At least 6 warships have failed to reach the...
On a miraculous journey toward a new horizon. This tragic era of hatred and misunderstanding between our races is over. On this day, for the first time in my life, I am filled with joy.
At 03:45 hours, the GTVA Colossus destroyed the Shivan juggernaut Sathanas near the Gamma Draconis jump node in Capella. This victory proves without a doubt our technological superiority over our great war nemesis.
We are detecting an incoming jump signature through the subspace portal.
What is it, Samtic? Can you identify?
Affirmative. Sathanas configuration. Repeat. Sathanas configuration.
That's impossible, Samtic. Samtic, get out of there, now! We're pulling you out. Samtic, do you copy? Come in, Samtic. This is Allied Command. Do you read me?
Welcome to the GDD Memphis, Terran. The annihilation of the Samtech and the thousands on board is a tragedy for all the Sudans. A people birthed in sorrow will die in sorrow, as the old proverb goes. The discovery of the Septimosis portal was of extraordinary significance.
This is the Aquitaine. You take care of the fighters. We'll worry about the Abaddon. Destroy its beam turrets if you get the opportunity.
Welcome back to the Aquitaine. Because of your outstanding service to the Alliance, the GTVA has granted you command of your own elite fighter squadron, the 70th Blue Lions. This is quite an honor, pilot. As we speak, convoys of transports, freighters, and medical ships are heading for the jump nodes to Vega and Epsilon Pegasi. The evacuation of civilian personnel proceeds on schedule, but the enemy offensive has intensified.
Alpha Wing, you have your orders. Prioritize enemy bombers. Alpha, the Neptune is gone. All Allied warships are currently engaged. You're on your own out there. Now!
Negative, Command. We'll hold them off here. Just get the Bastion through.
Omega down. Repeat, Omega down. We've lost another transport. End this massacre now, pilots. Repeat, Capella has gone supernova. You must get to the Vega node and engage your jump drive now. This is Allied Command, signing off. Godspeed, pilots.